Okay, so today is Saturday, February 15th, 2020, and I did a check a few weeks back and actually added the honey super on the top, and at the time I mentioned that I wasn't sure whether I was going to put the insulation back on, but then looking at the forecast, we had several days of 30-degree temperatures, so I did put the insulation back on the side of the hive, as you can see. What we're going to do today is, I think the timing of putting that honey super on was really bad. I think I should have waited probably until this weekend because we had several days of cold. So I'm going to just crack open the top lid and look and see if they have done anything with the honey super that I added to it. I doubt that they have, but if they have any comb build out on that on those wax foundations, I'd be really surprised. So that's what we're going to do. I'm not going to bother smoking them. I'm not going to get into the bottom box at all. I just want to look in the honey super that was added to see if they've done anything with it. And so that's that. So I'm not sure if I mentioned in the video in the open, but it's about 65 degrees today, so they should be in a good mood. I'm not going to smoke them. I'm just going to pop the top lid open here, and we're going to take a look at them and see how things are going. Keep rolling here. Get this lined up so you guys can see what's happening as I open it up. As I suspected, there's absolutely nothing. So I think it was just too early in the season to I got a bee crawling around on one there. I do see a little bit of propolis that they've put in a couple of spots, but if you look at this frame here, let's see if I can position it for the camera. If you can see like a little bit of a brownish spot right there in the corner of the wood. That's something that the bees make to seal up any air vents or any cracks in the hive. It's called propolis, and they get it from the resin from trees. So once again, nothing on this one. Nothing here. Nothing here. I just think it's been too cold this week for them to, it was about 10 days ago, I believe, was the last check. And I think it's just been too cold for them to make comb. Nothing here. Nothing there. And nothing there. A little bit of propolis on some of the frames. Here's another one that's got some propolis on it. I don't know if the camera's picking this up or not, but right down in here. So, really, it's been a waste of time, and I think they've just had to expend a little bit more energy to keep the hive at a proper temperature. So we're still expecting some cool days. They haven't done a single thing with this honey super yet. So I'm going to take it off. I'm going to shrink them back down. The good thing is that the hive still looks strong. The hive still looks very strong. I got about the same 5 heavy frames of bees. You know what, I haven't smoked them, so I really shouldn't do this, but I'm going to go into the hive and take a look at them and see how they're doing. So they might get a little upset with me, but I've got the heavy gloves on this time around, so I don't have to worry about getting stung, at least not on the hands. So I'm still seeing some capped honey here, and some of these cells are filled with nectar. Not as many as it seems like there was last time. There's not a lot of nectar on this side. There's a little bit of pollen in here too. So this is frame 1 I'm going to set aside for a moment. Might as well see if we can find our queen. Boy, this is such a heavy frame. This one is just packed full of... It's about 75% capped honey on this side, and then some of the other frames have nectar in them. So they got plenty of food. This side, as you can see, is almost completely capped honey. So they're doing good as far as resources go. Get my finger out of there. Sorry, girls. Try to be as gentle with them as I can, especially since I didn't smoke them today. I wasn't planning on doing this. Come on, girls, get out of the way. I don't want to crush anybody. Alright. Looking for my queen. This is almost all honey. Oh, you know what? It's a mix. It's honey. And this is all honey in here. And then this is brood. This is capped brood right here. Try to get the girls out of the way. So there's a little patch of capped brood here, and then it's surrounded by nectar. This is all nectar around it, and then this is all capped honey. Let's check the other side. The other side has about half capped honey. Alright, we're going to go into frame 4 here. If you're counting, I always take one frame out to make room to slide the frames over. So anytime you see it count, this is 1, 2, 3, but number 4 is actually out of the frame already. So let's see if we can get this one out. This is probably the heaviest frame in the whole bunch here, because it's covered in bees. So I see a couple of drone cells. I'll see if I can point those out on the camera. A lot of nectar on this frame though. It's weird, there's pollen. I'll point out a couple of the drone cells here in a minute. I just want to make sure my queen's not on this frame first. I don't see Miss Queenie. she's pretty easy to spot because she's got a green paint dot on her thorax, the back of her, in between her wings. Let me see. If you blow on them, they get a little irritated, but they move out of the way, so that's an easy, non-evasive way to kind of like move the bees if you're trying to look to see what they're above. So, if you can see where I'm pointing right here, this little cell here that looks like it's a little bulge, and then right next to it there's some capped cells. So the regular flat cap cells are normal brood cells, so those are female bees. The big ones that are kind of bulged up are drone cells, because the drones are a little bit larger. And then also, I don't know if this is showing up or not here, you see a little worker bee here that's got a lot of pollen on her back legs, on both of her back legs. So, and she's got her head buried in there. Whoa, sorry girls, did not mean to do that. Okay, so now, I don't know if you heard the sound intensify, but they definitely got a little worked up with me doing that. I almost dropped the frame, that would not have been good. So, we're going to set these girls back down. So this is frame 4, no sighting of the queen just yet. But I can tell you that they are definitely worked up now because of me almost dropping that frame. I'm hoping the queen is on this one. If I see the queen, I don't think I'm going to go any further. One thing I didn't see was any larvae or any eggs. So with this cold weather that we've been having the last few days, she may have stopped laying. Oh, another heavy frame. I hate these gloves, but I don't want to get stung. A lot of bees with pollen on their backs, on their legs. A lot of capped brood on this one as well. Oh, I do see some larvae in here. So when the queen lays an egg, it looks like a little grain of rice, and the egg stays there for, hatches in 3 days and becomes a larvae. And then after about 5 days of them feeding the larvae is when they cap the cell, and then it pupates and becomes a bee. So I do see larvae on this frame. I do see capped brood on this frame. I don't see my queen yet. So alright, still no sign of the queen. This is the frame that she was on the last time we went in, but she moves around. She definitely gets around. Alright, so we'll squeeze these guys over a little bit. The last time I went in and I smoked them, they were pretty calm the whole time. Heavy frame. Heavy frame. Looking for my queen. There she is. Alright, we'll get a spotting on the queen here. So she is, make sure the camera still shows her. She's right here. We might get it lucky and actually watch her lay an egg here. Looks like she's possibly looking for a cell to lay in. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to keep her out. Although it's 65 degrees today, so temperature-wise she's okay. Keep following the green dot there. I'm going to get her a little closer to the camera. Looks like she might be getting ready to lay. It does look like she's inspecting cells here, so like maybe she's looking for a cell to lay into. She's got to make sure, obviously, that she lays into an empty cell that doesn't have nectar in it. She's surrounded now by worker bees because she's exposed. She's right here. Alright, girls. Well, I was hoping we were going to see her lay, but I also don't want to have the same thing happen and have this frame slip off and stir up these bees, especially not this frame that holds the queen. So, I see the queen. I don't see any eggs, but I know that... Oh, I do see eggs. There are eggs in these frames. So she is actively laying, so that's good. In fact, I think she just laid an egg. So we're going to put her away, and we're going to call it quits here. Set this one down as gently as I can. I don't want to... There we go. Alright. So now all I need to do is just very gently push these frames back without crushing any bees. Oh, I might have crushed a bee there. I hate when that happens. We've got to make room for our 10th frame. Alright, so we're going to put frame number 10 back on. Actually, I think technically I should be calling this frame number 1 since it's the first one I grab every day, or every time I go into the hive. So this is frame number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So she was on frame 6 this time. 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I'm really concerned. I don't know whether to put that honey super back on or if I should leave it off for another couple of weeks until the weather starts really warming up. Honestly, don't know what to do at this point. I guess that's something that will come with experience, but I'm thinking that I can leave it off for another week. I've got some time coming up, some time off work coming up in about 10 days that I could go back in and put it back on, and hopefully by then the weather will be picking up a little again. So what I'm going to do now is blow on these girls here that are floating on the top to try to get them to go down. And the reason is because I want to put the cover back on, and I don't want to crush any of my girls here. You see how magically blowing on them kind of just makes them run for cover. Alright, so yeah, so we're going to just put the cover back on here, and we're going to put them back in the studio apartment. I just don't think that they need the honey super with the cold weather that we're having right now. So, telescoping cover goes back on. Put the insulation back over them. And then this is just the brick to keep the wind from blowing things away. And I'll put the queen excluder and honey super back in the garage. Alright, so that's that. February 15th, 2020, our little hive inspection is complete. We saw our queen, we saw eggs, we saw larvae, we saw capped larvae, so the hive is definitely doing okay. I was a little worried with this cold snap that we had, but it looks as though she's doing alright, so I would call it a success.